All video and basically every kind of photography is basically just capturing light. So when you're looking to improve your video production, improving your lighting is a good place to start. I've been using this light kit for more than a year now, and it's a super versatile option for budget-minded video shooters. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the GVM 560 AS. There are a lot of options out there when it comes to film lighting, and things can get expensive pretty quickly. GVM, which stands for Great Video Maker, which is not my favorite choice of brand name by the way, is a budget-minded company that creates film lighting and camera accessories for the budget-minded producer. The good thing about their lighting sets is that they're all-in-ones, meaning that they include the light panels, a light stand for each light, and a power cord. This makes them much more affordable than custom lighting options where you have to purchase the light, the stand, even wiring solutions separately. This does come at the cost of some quality, but we'll get into the details of the construction later on. When you're shopping for lights, you'll probably come across a lot of different options for lights that have different color temperatures, or maybe they have an adjustable color temperature. Here's a quick overview of what you might need to know when you're shopping for lights in terms of temperature. This might be a little confusing at first if you don't know what it is. The temperature of light is measured in Kelvin. The typical range for lights in Kelvin is 2000 Kelvin to 8000 Kelvin, although consumer lighting rarely goes to those extremes. The lower the temperature, the warmer or more yellow the light, and the higher the temperature, the more blue or cold the light. So that's how you can determine what light is what color. You can buy lights at one temperature, or you can also buy ones that are dimmable or temperature adjustable. Professional lights by brands like ARRI are usually one temperature, but you would buy lights at multiple temperatures to work with your shooting goals. Usually these are used on sets with huge budgets so they can afford to either rent or buy these kinds of lights for whatever their needs may be. A light's brightness is measured in lumens. I can't find a standardized version of what to compare this to, other than that a 100 watt incandescent light bulb should be replaced with a 1600 lumen LED bulb. Like I said, I don't really know what that means, to be honest, but it's what the experts say, so I believe them. When shopping for a film light, more lumens means more brightness and more power, which is usually a good thing in my opinion. It's usually easier to tone a light down through diffusion or deflection off of a surface than to increase its power later on. Included with the lights is this carrying case that I never use. It's probably good for, it's covered in cat hair, it's probably good for protecting your lights when you're going on a long road trip or they might be getting crushed under luggage. It's actually pretty well made. I would use it if I was gonna put my lights in the back of a car or something, but for just like transporting from here to there, it's not really necessary. I usually just collapse the stands all the way down to their smallest height, which is probably like 2.5 feet, and they're compact enough for travel when they're in that size. The stands are made mostly out of metal. I'm pretty sure it's aluminum, so they're light, and the joints are made out of plastic, which makes them feel a bit cheap, but they work, so I don't really have any complaints. The stand, when it's fully extended, is about 7.5 feet tall, which is plenty of height for my purposes. I'm only 6 feet tall, so I never need to light anything that tall. It does get a bit unstable when you have the light on the stand and it's fully extended because the light panel is relatively heavy compared to the stand. The bottom of the stand is made up of 3 legs and they extend using a knob and this sort of slide apparatus. There are 2 tiers to the construction of the legs, which means that you can set a sandbag on them if you're looking for extra stability. Sometimes I just put my camera bag at the bottom of the stand and that keeps it stable enough. The knobs to raise the stand feel pretty secure despite being plastic. The tiers of the stand get thinner as they go up, which means that they'll also get less sturdy. At the tip of the light stand is a 5/8 inch stud with a 1/4 inch screw under a rubber cap. So you could attach like a monitor or a small light panel to it if you want. As you can see, my stands are a bit chewed up from being tightened down upon the screw from the light panel itself, which is metal on metal, unfortunately. I'm much more confident in how the light panel itself is built rather than the actual stands. The hinge is made of metal with plastic knobs to adjust the angle of the panel. The back of the panel is made of both metal and plastic, with adjustable knobs controlling the light temperature and brightness. There are numbers to indicate what level you're at, which is helpful. you might have noticed these two battery slots, which you can use with Sony NP550, 750, and 970 batteries. I have two of these really cheap versions by Neewer. I don't know how to pronounce that brand. Neewer? Anyway, the OEM versions of these batteries are super expensive, and these ones were like 20 bucks, so I just went with them. They work really well for increasing the light stand mobility, since otherwise it has to be plugged in order to be powered. However, these batteries are also very heavy, so you might need an additional sandbag to keep things upright. Speaking of plugging these things in, the cord to use the 560AS with AC power directly into the wall is another important part of the kit. I usually use the kit with these connected to the wall when I'm shooting, since I usually have an outlet around wherever I'm shooting and I don't want to have to always rely on batteries. So far, plugging into the wall has never been an issue for me, and even when it is, I have batteries I can bring as a backup. The stock version of this light kit has 4 barn doors to help control the light coming off the panel. These are pretty clunky and get caught in the hinge if you try to tilt the light within the housing. You can only tilt it to like, I don't know, maybe 30 degrees before the barn doors get caught. The light coming off the panel in the stock version is also pretty harsh. There's one small slide made of plastic that's included on the stock version that's meant to diffuse the light, but it doesn't do much. I used to use these $5 sheets of diffusion plastic clipped to the barn doors, but I needed a more permanent and professional looking option. Luckily, GVM makes a soft box you can attach to the front of the panel that makes the light much more palatable and soft. Right now I'm using it for this video. Unfortunately, they cost about $40 each, which I think is pretty expensive for an accessory for a device that's $200. Included in the box is a honeycomb grid to channel the light forward, and a diffusion sheet, which is now placed farther away from the panel to diffuse the light even further. It does make the light a lot softer. I like using these things a lot more than the stock look. So next, we'll go through a demo so you can see what the lighting actually looks like in its various stages. This is 160 f4 ISO 800, both lights 140. Both lights are at 44,000 Kelvin and 100 strength. No attachments, no nothing. Oh, this is so bright. I would not be able to 5%, a little more tolerable, but still very bad. This is 50%. It's probably close to what I would normally keep the lights at. 4,000 Kelvin, no attachments. I normally would put diffusion over them because you can probably see really hard shadows in my face, which doesn't look good and is pretty distracting. It's still distracting to have them this bright in my face. It gets singeing my irises, but it's definitely more usable than anything else. So this is with both. This is the same temperature, same camera settings, and with both lights, with the extra layer of diffusion and with the honeycomb, beehive, whatever it's called. It's pretty good. I could read, it's a little bit strong probably, but if there was a teleprompter on the camera, I could probably read it. It would be pretty obvious that I'm squinting against the light though. So I'd move the lights off at an angle like this. That's much better. I'm much more comfortable now. So yeah, if I was like this trying to read in front of a camera, that'd be much more reasonable. You can see my shadows are probably much softer. Probably way less light back there now. It's nice. It's much better. So same light position, same camera settings. This is at 75% brightness. Relatively similar position to the last shot that I did, so hopefully the lighting pattern will be similar. I can see that the shadows are soft. It's probably too dark in the background. You'd need some like fill light or whatever, but this is very comfortable. I could read a teleprompter very easily without having to squint too much. The lights are still pretty close to me. I probably wouldn't have them this close. If I move back, that might help. Like if I'm like this, that's much better, and you're not seeing the lights affecting my eye. This is the most comfortable so far. I'll be willing to see how dark it is in the camera, because everything behind me is underexposed, so I'm lighter than the background, so hopefully that'll be a good way to set myself apart from it. But again, the background is probably close to invisible at this point, so I'll probably use a fill light so that it's just more interesting in the background. This is down to 25%. Everything else is the same. This is too dark probably. These don't even really feel like they're on. Very, very soft light. Almost no shadow on my body. I would be surprised if this shot looks decent. It's comfortable, but it's because it's dark everywhere too. There are a couple of fun features on the 560s that aren't immediately obvious. You might have noticed the Wi-Fi reset button on the back of the panel. You can operate the lights through a GVM remote app, which they advertise in their documentation in the box. But this thing is poorly rated and I could not get the app to work. I tried to get it to connect to my light, which does give off its own Wi-Fi source, but I couldn't connect because I don't know the username and password, which is already set. I tried to modify the Wi-Fi over the app. There's a menu item that says modify Wi-Fi. I don't really know what that means, but it wouldn't let me change the password. I'm not exactly heartbroken about this because I can't think of a situation where I would want to change the light temperature or strength without being close enough by to do it by hand. It would be a neat feature if it worked, but I don't see myself using it very frequently on set or in the field. So now we're on to the big question. Should you buy it? I spent a long time using daylight for my shoots as my only light source, and that's the cheapest light there is. My next step was going to my sets and moving lamps around in the room so that I could light my subject a little better, basically getting it as close to them as I could. Now that I've moved on to using a standalone light kit, I've gained a lot of flexibility in my workflow. I try to shoot where I have access to an outlet, and I bring extension cords to all my shoots just so I know that I'll always have power. Additionally, I pack batteries, so in case the cords don't work out, I'm basically guaranteed light wherever I want to shoot. And at a $200 price point, a kit that gives me both dimmable and temperature adjustable lighting is a great value in my book. If you're only filming yourself on camera, you could get away with using a ring light or small LED panel, but for lighting larger rooms and creating interest like in the background I'm doing now, you'll probably want some more flexibility. So that's why I ended up purchasing this light kit. It would let me shoot in more places and control my lighting environment better. Thanks for sticking with me to the end of this video. A special thanks to everyone who's already subscribed, including my most recent sub, Kevin L. Thanks, man. If you enjoyed the content, join Kevin in subscribing and hit the bell to notified when these videos go live. If you'd like to check out the 560AS light kit or some of the accessories I mentioned, you can check out the links in the description below. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.